Well, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever time this podcast finds you. Welcome to the 10 Golden Rules of Internet Marketing for Law Firms podcast. We've got a great guest today. Before I start, just want to ask you for a quick, take a minute, give us a 5-star rating on iTunes or a thumbs up on YouTube, a subscription on YouTube. Helps us a lot and get great guests like Chris. And when they see we've got a big following, obviously it makes it a lot easier. So give us a minute, do that, and let's get into it. Chris Earley really stands out to me at all of the conferences. We go to some of the same conferences, and his social media is always pinging in my stream. So I thought I wanted to spend some time with Chris today and learn about him and learn about how he does it all. So welcome, Chris.
Jay, I appreciate you. Thanks for having me on. I see you on the conference trail. I see you getting after it. So I'm really excited to talk with you today. Thanks for having me on. Appreciate it.
So, I like to start with this question. What's your why? Why did you become an attorney, and what's driving y'all to your success?
Yeah. So I graduated college with a liberal arts degree, couldn't get a job. So I decided to go to law school. It gave me some time to buy time and decide what I was going to do, because I don't mind school and kind of put my head down and studying. So went to law school really without a plan. And I came out of law school without a job. So really by necessity, I just sort of hung a shingle out of sheer necessity and just ignorance. And that was 20 years ago. And so there's been a lot of growth, success, failure. I've learned a lot, but that's kind of what's taken me here. But I don't have a conventional lawyer story where, mom and dad were litigators, and no, it's nothing of that sort. So got here today a little unconventionally. And so, but I'm grateful to be part of a wonderful organization that we're growing here and building. But my why is really my family. I look at the law firm as an engine for me to have the life that I want to have with my family. And so happy to get into that. But that's really my why is my family, being a dad, the dad that I didn't have. And so very purpose-driven motivations here, purpose-driven law firm. That's sort of what we're doing here. Yeah. So
and you were telling me you were really excited. It's Little League season. So let's start with the dad first. Tell us about the coach and the dad.
Yeah, so tonight we have a Little League game, and I sponsor my kids' team, my kids' baseball team. I do every year. As a little marketing aside, that grassroots marketing really works. A community-based market. Probably spend $500 to get my name on my my kids' Little League team jersey. You can't go wrong. You're supporting Little League, you're supporting organizations locally, you're getting your name out there. It's very hyper local marketing.
Yeah.
More importantly to me, it makes my heart feel full seeing my kid be proud that dad is sponsoring the team, that's coaching the team, just showing up. I think if you can figure out, build your law firm so that you can have as much time as possible, right? To be on the field with your kids, doing what they do. So they see mom, they see dad there. I think that's really important. That's my why, right? But just being involved with coaching, I'll be involved with coaching is for as long as they'll let me, until they kick me out. And my son says I'm not cool enough to coach anymore. So until that day happens, Jay, I'm going to stick around for as long as I can.
Or hopefully he gets so good that, he exceeds your ability to be the coach, right?
Yes, which isn't hard to do.
And you guys are mostly personal injury, right?
That's all we do. That's all I've ever done is personal injury, very focused, hyper-focused approach to law. This is what we do. Yep.
And based in Boston.
That's right. Yep.
Yeah. And so, it's interesting, like you said, the hyper local marketing for $500 sponsoring the team and obviously being a part of the team, but that really drives some cases and you get some business from that.
I really do. And it's a slow burn. You don't just, I do little things like my daughter plays soccer. So I've got, for $800, I have a banner in the arena where she plays, right? That's short money, but yet you're always there, right? Early Law Group is just there. And I think community marketing isn't like an immediate shot in the arm where you start getting cases, but it's part of this kind of additive strategy of just, building marketing assets on top of each other. You don't have to break the bank, but I really feel like attorneys don't tap into that enough. You could sponsor a team. And also, Jay, this, goes to something that you are, passionate about, SEO. You get a backlink, right? You get a backlink from Little League, you get a backlink from the soccer organization. That's a nice domain authority, actually. That stuff helps, right?
Sometimes
So
you have to ask. And
you have to
I was
ask.
saying,
Good point. And you should ask. There's no
I was
reason
saying
not
I'm
to.
trying to make famous. It's write a check, get a link. Write a
Yeah.
check, get a link. And so many people forget that. And I say there's a huge value. Like you write that $800 check for the sign at the soccer stadium, and you just want to ask, like, yeah, hey, I'm back again this year, and my daughter's not on the team anymore, but I'm happy to participate. But one thing is I want to make sure I get a link from the team website or from the Facebook page or both. And that really adds up. Those local links have credibility for SEO. So great point. And you have to ask or put it in the negotiation. Sometimes it's not
Yeah.
a negotiation, but that goes to like your investigators and your court reporters and everyone you do business with. Write a check, get a link, and those local links, especially the relevant ones like the court reporters and the crash investigators. Those are awesome. So Super Dad, how much better do you think it is, like when you're involved with the team, you're the coach, like then everybody really knows who you are, and probably the team, God forbid someone on the team's involved in an accident, you get the call. But does it stretch out to other teams? Like, does it have tentacles that way?
Yeah. So just for as an example, right? Last night, a coach, and there's a lot of marketing lessons, I feel like, with baseball. But anyway, I go to my son's Little League game last night, I coach, and I had on, early law group shirt, and everyone else has, baseball shirts. I'm thinking, geez, I feel like I stick out like a sore thumb, but that's kind of a good thing. It's like you don't want to be wearing what everyone else is wearing. So I feel like sometimes a little like, is this over the top? Like when I speak on stage, I'll wear merchandise, and I learned that from a lawyer, years ago. You have to self-promote, right?
Yeah.
You can't be shy about getting your brand out there. So yeah, I mean, like I've gotten, good cases locally because they trust me. I keep showing up, and I'm not the kind of coach who's going to, yell at your kid. I'm going to support your kid and support healthy modeling of, supporting kids. So if they see, oh, this guy Earley seems like a decent dude, let me check him out online, right? Maybe they see the billboard, maybe they see me on social, these trust clues we try to develop, right? And just be everywhere and have 650 reviews we're at, right? Just always generating that turning the wheel, I call it, right? This positive activity, because you're a digital marketer, right? It's not just, I'm sure you tell our clients, it's not just like one thing. You have to do a lot of things as good as you can possibly do them. And then the better you do that, the better the digital works. I feel like this holistic approach. But yeah, but hyper local stuff, being on social, I'll tag Little League, right? Little League is just one example of this approach of
Yeah.
just trying to leverage your assets, your marketing dollar, stretching your marketing dollar, because it's not like a direct ROI in Little League investment, right?
Yeah.
But I think
Obviously, it's a passion. It's passion for you. You're not doing
it's
it
passion.
to
It's
generate
it's it,
cases.
yeah,
But
but
that's sure
like you,
a nice benefit. Um,
yeah.
give us a ballpark, like in a great month, how many cases do you sign, and how many come from referrals? That's top of mind for me because we're doing a referral as a webinar topic this month.
Wonderful. I'm referral obsessed, right? Just this morning, 2 attorney referrals, right? So we really are focused on attorney referrals, and client referrals, right? We are very focused on customer service, and I would encourage everyone on this call, right, to really use your list. I stole this from Ben Glass years ago. You have to leverage your list, right? I'm sure you subscribe to that. I'm sure, Jay, you have a list, right? And you're building your list, right? That's what we as lawyers need to do. Each month signups increase, right? There's up, any lawyer listening to this can relate to this. There's up months, down months, but the path trends upwards, right?
Yeah.
But
So
we
you're talking about your consumer list, right? Like these are
consumer list,
past
but
clients
also attorneys, Jay. Like, so
non-clients and attorneys.
yeah,
Okay.
but we segment. So I talked about this at the PILMA conference just a couple weeks ago. I write, and I don't say this to be a blowhard, I write prolifically, like always writing to get your name out there, right? And so related to that is we have a client email list, we have an attorney email list, because I use a different voice speaking to those two different audiences. So Earley keeps showing up, on lock religiously each and every week in your inbox. So if people unsubscribe, I'm okay with that. But for the most part, people stick around. At the Pilma Summit, I had 60 lawyers sign up or 67 lawyers sign up for my attorney newsletter from across the country. That's list building, right? So that's trying to make the most of a stage. Ken Hardison was kind enough to give me that stage. I gave my best value. And at the end, I said, hey, let's have a conversation. Please subscribe to my newsletter so we can keep this conversation going. List building, really important. If you don't have a list, that's okay. But you should start today to build that up, because each and every day, I'm going to put you on my list, Jade, now, right?
And this is not rocket science. Like you're not talking about sophisticated stuff. MailChimp is super easy. MailChimp is an engine where you can send out emails. They've got really nice formats you can use, and you don't have to be as advanced or prodigious as Chris is. You just have to send something out every month, and it can be, as simple as, congratulations to our receptionist. She's been with the firm for 20 years, and we got nominated for super lawyers. Can be really short and simple. Even better if it's, hey, here's pictures of the Little League team. We won 3 games in a row, and
Yes.
congratulations to one of our employees. They won this community award. Just like simple stuff showing up. And then the next level is obviously you can create some content. The next level is you can segment your list, like Chris is talking about, where you're sending something different to the consumers and the attorney referrals. Talk to me about communicating with other attorneys. And are they, PI attorneys? Are they other categories, other practice areas?
So I try to speak to as many attorneys as possible. They tend to be consumer facing, PI, bankruptcy, criminal, real estate. So, just a quick point, just before we go on, I think it's really important to be consistent, right? So as you build up your list, you can't just be a random visitor into inboxes or mailboxes. Like, I am going to hit your mailbox and your inbox frequently without interruption. I think that's the key. A lot of lawyers don't see immediate results, so you give up on it. And Jay, there's times where I'm like, oh, this isn't working. It's not worth the effort. But then a good case comes along, or someone says, hey, I saw your newsletter. I love it. Okay, good. Thanks. Or podcast, right? We do a podcast or the Earley show. Just got a very nice message from someone very influential in this industry. So I said, okay, I guess the podcast is working. Let's keep doing that. Let's lean into that even harder now. So I think the consistency is really important. But creating the content is, this is sort of how we do it, right? So I post once a day on LinkedIn. I have for years, at least once a day. If a post performs well on LinkedIn, I'll repurpose that and put that like in a client email blast, right? Maybe not for the attorneys, or perhaps for the attorneys, but always having a different message for my audience, right? And so, but the consistency really compounds. Now there's, over 600 attorneys on the list. We have a few thousand, it's 4,000 people on the former client email list, really just hitting people hard. And I do it every week. And I took this from Charley Mann, who has been very influential on me. A lot of respect for Charley. He's really helped my career. But when I first started hearing Charley say, oh, you got to do it every week, I said, oh, no way. That's obnoxious. Now I'm thinking about like twice a week, where it's like, I don't have any shame because I have a family to support. So I'm not going to be in the shadows hoping to grow my business. Like, you have to really be intentional about that. And I don't have all the answers. Like, I don't know everything that works, but I'll tell you what's gaining traction for us are these things that we're talking about. But I think you got to really keep showing up. So, for example, with the attorney newsletter, every month, every week, I send you a practice tip on things I've learned at a conference, a mastermind, or whatever. That's a weekly email for attorneys. And each month I'll send to you in your mailbox a paper newsletter, which has some more insight into how I run the practice, things I'm learning, things I'm succeeding at, failing at, but I'll share it. And then I write for the American Bar Association, back to SEO. That's a helpful backlink each and every month with the ABA. So I'll get the ABA backlink each and every month, write the content, write the article, and that'll supplement the attorney newsletter. And these are things, again, we don't miss a month, we don't miss a beat.
I love it. Do you have an actual calendar? Like, how do you stick to it?
You know what? Like, speaking of Pilma, I wrote an article on the plane, and like, we all have our talents, and like mine are very few, but I don't have trouble just like think, okay, like what's something that's helping me or not helping me in my practice. I'm gonna write about it. Because another thing I learned is done is better than perfect. So I'm not trying to write the best piece of content ever. I'll keep, making it. And then I think you get a little bit better as you write more, you see what works. I like to start with a quote. You learn a little bit of copywriting. And a call to action. Hey, reach out to me, call me. I'd love to have a conversation with you. Some call to action at the end. But it's not really a formal calendar, but I try to really stay on top so I don't miss a beat. I try to even write ahead of schedules. The ABA has my stuff ahead of time. They can keep, publishing that. But yeah, nothing really special, Jay. Just like doing the reps a little bit every day and not trying to be perfect.
Yeah, I always say that 99 out of 100 lawyers, we do the marketing for them. So we create a content calendar, but there is the unique unicorn like yourself and my friend John Pankowski who crank out enough content on their own. But we'd have this basic concept where we shoot videos with the attorneys and get y'all to answer questions. We do a dozen at a time, and then we put out one a week for 12 weeks. And it's a video, it's a blog, it goes on the social media. So we check a lot of boxes very simply. Now, if you can add to that, that's fantastic. The other thing you mentioned is great. Like, you had a prominent attorney reach out to you. So if anyone's listening to this, give us 2 minutes, hop on LinkedIn, Chris Earley, Jay Berkowitz, or Facebook, and just say hi. I'm listening to you guys on the podcast because we're about 20 minutes in. I'd love to know who's listening, because it keeps us going. It gives us the juice. Sometimes you put this stuff out in the void. You cover the marketing stuff pretty well. I want to talk a little bit about another area both of us are pretty passionate about, and that's masterminds. I'm an amazing mastermind for digital agencies. I'm in a group called the Titans, which is for elite digital agencies, and we all focus on a niche. So it's amazing because, the guy who focuses on tax attorneys, the guy who focuses on plumbers, the guy who focuses on air conditioning, like, they all teach me so much, and we're happy to share with each other because we're not directly competitive. The masterminds for attorneys, you guys generally, like all the personal injury lawyers, there wouldn't be someone in your state or in your direct competitive area. So you all are very happy to share the best embrace ideas with each other. So talk to me about the power of masterminds, what you've learned, and why someone should check it out if they haven't.
You're really serious. And I love that you're in one. So what you just said resonates with me, right? If you're really trying to grow a special practice, I think a mastermind is a non-negotiable, because you are, there's a certain power. And I talk about this, when you get in an airplane, you go in a hotel room, like, you're alone, you're thinking a lot about stuff, you're removed from your business, right? They say really nothing good happens behind a computer monitor. When you're stuck at your desk eating, you shouldn't eat alone, by the way. If you're eating at your desk, you're, kind of working at your desk, you're not really like moving forward. But when I travel, I have to leave my family for a couple of days, which kind of stinks. But I try to shorten the time span as much as possible. So I'll come in the morning of the conference and leave the night that it ends. So just try to minimize the travel, but I make the most of it. But with the mastermind, I mean, there's such opportunities to grow, to be challenged. If you just take away one, there's some masterminds where I'll travel 1,000 miles, but I got one idea that just changed my entire law firm, literally, Jay. Like, not even kidding. So I'm not looking for like 100 things. That's not realistic. I'm not trying to get 100 things done at any time. If you give me a couple nuggets, that was worth the investment, and you get what you pay for, right? As with anything, if you cheap out and you're in a cheap mastermind group, you're gonna not get the best content, perhaps, right? But before we started this call, Jay, I said I want to be the dumbest guy in the room, literally, because then I know I'm going to get my money's worth, and I know I'm going to be challenged, looking up at guys and gals further ahead than me. That levels me up, makes me realize, oh, you got to get after it, Chris. You're not even, you're not even close. So pushing, that's what a mastermind group does, is, you got to be vulnerable, you got to be real, and upfront with your group. There's good groups, not great groups, right? But I feel like that's an important room to be in if you're serious about doing big things in your law firm, because you're only going to grow so much in your office.
If you guys want to learn more about masterminds, we did an awesome session. We actually had Ken Hardison from Bilma, Craig Goldenfarb and Adam Rawson, who's a member of a mastermind, and Craig and Ken run mastermind groups and conferences and whatnot. So it's on our YouTube channel, and you can check that one out. It's also, we released it as a 2-part podcast series. So
all good people.
masterminds and
all
one
good people. Yep.
Yeah, one thing that differentiates a little bit, I think, for you and me is like, I was in masterminds that were more like a Vistage or Tech, where you had 15 other business people, and I was they were always category exclusive. So I was the digital marketing guy. But what's been the game changer for me is being in a room with other digital marketing agencies, but we're all niche specific. So we're I've got the rock stars of the rock stars in my industry, and I think that's how these attorney ones work so well. Is you get a top PI guy from Florida, top PI guy from California, and they're willing to share all their secrets with you on the floor, right?
100%. And one guy in my group, I'm gonna go visit his office to like see how he does things. Because always trying to, I know you're the same as me. You geek out on this stuff. You're a learner. I see all these books in your bookshelf, right? You're learning stuff. You're geeking out on it, right? And that's a favorable word that I apply, right? It's like you got to geek out and really get into something. But like, it's not just the mastermind; it's the offshoots of that. There's referrals that can come from that. There's visiting a law firm. There's just I'm talking to my fellow mastermind friend today about how he gets records and bills. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about, the stuff we're doing together. So that's like a mini mastermind that can spawn off of a bigger mastermind. But the opportunities that can come about, right? There's just such power to that. I highly endorse the idea. I wish I did it many years ago, but no point in, looking back, but only forward.
Yeah, that's a great segue. We're, recording this in spring of 2024. Hopefully someone's listening way in the future and can give us a shout out back in time. But it's graduating season, and every second picture on LinkedIn or Facebook is someone's son or daughter or husband, wife graduating. What advice would you have for a law student just getting through law school and writing the bar? What advice would you have for them?
Honestly, Jay, I'd say try to be a little bit different from the pack because law school is very regimented. This is, we put you in a box, and I actually grew when I kind of learned that don't grow in a box, right? Dan Kennedy says frequently, right? If the majority is going in one direction, go in the other direction. And I literally adopt that, and that's been a game changer. So I encourage, that law student who's going into law school next year or graduating law school this year, whoever it is, the attorney 10 years out, you got to be a little bit different. And I feel like it's like taboo to be different as an attorney. It's like, oh, we're straight laced, buttoned up. Now, like, loosen the tie and show yourself. Like, I'm so open on social media, Jay, that like I just it stands out because it's so freaking different. And I mean, always being ethical and not being a clown. But there's a lot of leeway that attorneys have to sort of be different. And so this isn't about being a lawyer. It's about like, having a career, a living, and trying to do it a little bit different than the pack. Um, I really encourage everyone to try to be a little bit different. Add your flavor, right? Be authentic to who you are. I think that's where big things happen, truly. I've seen it. And the more I see it, Jay, the more I lean into that. It's like, all right, let's continue to just be who we are and go against the grain, really, frankly. You talk about social media a lot, right? What are people interested in? Like boring stuff or stuff that's out there, a little bit different? It's no different than when you're off of social media in the real world, right? Just being a little bit more, just trying to go in a different direction. That's authentic. You got to be authentic. You shouldn't just go in the direction just for the sake of being a rebel of sorts, right? Like, I only know what works for me, but I encourage you to explore what works for you, find that niche, and just, get into as much as you can and just do the best you possibly can, do the reps.
Yeah, I'm sure if you post a picture of yourself in your office or a picture of yourself in your Earley Law Group shirt with your Earley Law Group team on the baseball field, that probably gets 50 more likes, right?
Yes.
Authentic.
Right. As opposed to like talking about like, here's what a contract is. Like, nobody cares, right? People care about, I mean, it's some, people do care about that, but at the end of the day, it's like, what's interesting? Infotainment, right? Educating people, and being fun and showing your human side. I feel like we don't do that, Jay. So many lawyers are just, we're so buttoned up. We don't want to reveal ourselves. My career took off when I became vulnerable and real on social, because people are like, holy smokes, I can't believe that guy just said that, because it's all truth, right? it's all truth. I'm writing a memoir, literally as we speak. I've got a book coach writing a memoir about my story because that's my story that I
Right.
own. And then when that is published, like, and I wrote about this on LinkedIn this week, like how many lawyers have written a memoir? I'm not patting myself in the back. I didn't go to some Ivy League law school, some fancy lineage here. Absolutely not. But little things like, put in the reps to do a book, I think can create huge dividends and further separate you from everybody else. Uh, There's so many ways to be different. I'm just always trying to hunt down, new and different ways to do that. But a book is potentially a big one, I feel.
It's very important. You talked about finding your authentic self and representing that. There was a sort of trick question I often ask some of my, friends and other folks in the industry is like, what's the best performing landing page for a personal injury lawyer? Is it a picture of a car accident? Is it a picture of a big check? Is it a picture of the lawyer fighting the insurance company? Is it a picture of the lawyer in court? Or is it a picture of the lawyer, with his or her team? And I've learned over many years of testing, millions and millions of clicks, that the answer is you've got to represent your authentic self and what your firm stands for. And so you've got to find that and you've got to represent that. And that's what works the best, across all the media. And some other little things I learned is like most consumers actually don't want to go to court. They're scared the crap out of them that they'd actually have to go to court. So that's like one of the worst ones. And they don't want to relive the accident. They don't want to see a terrible accident. So the best answer is finding that authentic self. And, maybe for the young attorney, it's harder to find yourself when you're just starting out. But interesting. What do you think of this advice? We have a very bright member of our team, Mihaela, and she just finished her first year of law school. And last summer, when she was working full time for us, and she was she was making her decision on which law school to go to. My advice was dig really deep on this, Mihaela. This is very, very important. And find the law school that's going to train you on the new technology, because AI and everything, the very soon, like 1 or 2 years from now, the law firm that's embracing AI is going to be miles ahead from the one that has the books on the shelf. So please, I beg of you, do not go to the law school that's going to train you off the books on the shelf. And she thanked me this year. She said, I'm so glad I made the choice I did. And I went with the most technically advanced of the 4 or 5 choices I had. What do you think of that? What's the future of technology look like for lawyers?
Like you said, I mean, we're not really sure exactly what it looks like, but I think the tech. So private equity is coming into legal space quicker than we like to realize it is, right? There's definitely a wave coming. So the quicker that you can run your firm like a business, the better. And I think that's enabled by really leveraging tech and AI. Because I mean, Jay, AI can reduce your payroll, right? It can make you more effective. I always try to think about like, Amazon, what they do so well, right? And I reference Jeff Bezos when I talk to lawyers, like Jeff Bezos, isn't like, packing up boxes and like putting stamps. No, people are doing that. He set it up using leveraging tech as much as possible. And I'm sure he's, 20 years ahead of most of us here, but, leveraging the technology. And for the entrepreneur who's starting about or has already begun a law practice, you should think of it like a business, because that will make you more attractive to outside investors who are invariably going to be coming into the space. And so, right, I look at this more as a business, and I talk about this all the time as opposed to a practice. So AI is your best friend right now. It's a perfect time to be getting in. In fact, if you're getting into it today, you're probably a little bit behind the 8 ball, right? You're probably a little bit behind. So I would encourage you, there's no time like today, leverage as much as possible. There's so many tools that you can leverage for relatively short money. It's just going to become probably, cheaper and cheaper, these products, as it becomes more competitive in the marketplace. But I think Jay, I think that the firm that can really leverage tech the best wins in this new economy of, on-demand legal services, quick results, right? Meaningful, quality results. But how can you do it better than the guy or gal across the street? I think that should be your mindset as you leverage tech and all it can offer you, because it's unlimited. Frankly, we don't even know what it can do at this point. It's so new.
And I know you're going to endorse this tip, but Justin Lovely actually crushed it last week or last month at the PILMA conference we were both at. And Justin also did one of our webinars for us. So if you want a quick start in AI for law firms, this guy's unbelievable. He goes through like 15 different tools that he's actually using in his law firm, like how he's using ChatGPT to write prompts and train his staff, and all different kind of technologies he's using to really, run a business and run a law firm. And so again, I refer you to the 10 Golden Rules YouTube channel. Find the incredible AI webinar with Jason Lovely.
He's got a lot of energy
Yeah.
too. So
Sorry, Justin Lovely, South Carolina attorney. Look it up. He's awesome. And he really makes it real, and the content's very, very current. Well, this has been great. And I have a few last, I call these like my quick burners questions that I've been asking people for years. So the first one is, what's a technology or an app or something you use for personal productivity?
Well, that's a good question. This is kind of basic, but I really like Evernote, because when I get a good idea, if I'm in the shower, oh my God, I got to write that down. I got an idea for an article for the ABA. I got a way to improve this system. I just had a good conversation with an attorney in the hallway of this conference. Evernote, it's very basic to me. I'm not definitely not a tech guru, but you got to write stuff down when you have those good thoughts that come to you when you least expect it. So I do like that, because you're going to forget the stuff that comes to you, and that's gone.
I'm a huge fan of Evernote, and the beauty of it is it's on your computer, it's on your cell phone, it's on your tablet, and I keep lists. So like I mentioned, this month we're doing referrals for our webinar, and so I've been keeping this little list of all the ideas on referrals that I've learned, or that I use personally, or that I recommend, and so that became the structure and the outline of my presentation for the upcoming webinar. Love Evernote. Best business books. What do you always recommend?
So my mindset just changed with the E-Myth, right? In terms of running because law school doesn't teach you this stuff. They just don't. It's a business. And when I read Michael Gerber's The E-Myth, I started to think, oh, this is interesting. Like McDonald's, like how they do things, right? Isn't it different than a law firm? I think, we're professionals. We went to law school. What's so special about us? Need to use automation, think like an entrepreneur, develop people, develop the systems, fulfill the needs of the customer. And I think you can really do well. That book changed it for me. I could go on. There's been so many books, but I think, Jay, the successful people that I study they read a lot of books, right? So I encourage the audience. I just read a really good book. Unreasonable Hospitality was a really good book. I just read it recently. I mean, I could go on and on, but there's, another book, The Magic of Thinking Big. I read that about 5 years ago when I started to scale, changed my approach.
Great book, yeah.
Yeah,
and E-Myth. I mean, E-Myth's probably answered 2 out of 4 times when I asked this question.
Oh, is it really?
Yeah, because Tony Robbins says success leaves clues, and I find that when I interview successful people, they've read E-Myth, they've probably checked out EOS, the Entrepreneurial Operating System, they've been to Tony Robbins, 9 out of 10, sort of check off the things that, like Tony says, success leaves clues, and there's no substituting for the things that work for 9 out of 10 people. You got to invest the time and read a book, go spend 4 days with Tony Robbins, et cetera, et cetera. The next one is your top blogs, YouTubes, or podcasts. When they hit your screen, what are the ones that you listen to first?
I like Ken Hardison's Grow Your Law Firm podcast. I was on that one a few years ago. I love Ken's podcast. I also love Chris
doing
Dreyer.
Great interviews.
Does great interviews. Chris Dreyer's Personal Injury Mastermind.
Love it.
That's a good one.
Quality,
I'm going to be going to that conference. Are you going to that? I think it's in.
I'm planning to. Yes.
I have a feeling that's going to be a good one. So I don't want to have FOMO. So I'm going to check it out. Those are, a lot of I just found a really cool podcast. I have to look up the name, but it's about, finance and little things like that. But it's really, I lean into what I'm passionate about, which is business. So it's mostly business, podcasts for the most part. Charley Mann's got a good podcast, but they don't teach this in law school. That's a good one. So yeah, those are some of the ones I like to check out.
Yeah, you mentioned Charley a couple of times. He's actually going to be my partner. We're on the referral webinar. So
Wonderful.
when you listen to this podcast, you're going to have to go back to the YouTube channel to find it. But
I will definitely check that out. I'm excited.
yeah, no, he's got he calls it the 500,000 referral playbook, $500,000 referral playbook,
Love it.
guaranteed 500,000 more revenue when you use the playbook.
He's crushing it. Love it.
Yeah, who's your NFL team?
The Patriots. It's sad times here in at Foxborough, but Patriots, man, it was a good run, but it's definitely over.
Yeah, no, we're enjoying it. As I'm a Dolphins fan because I've been down in South Florida for 22 years. So thank you in advance for the 2 wins. We need them this year.
Oh, it's looking better down there, right? It's like
yeah. Well, hopefully,
swung.
hopefully I'll turn it around. And then the last question is, where can people find you?
Yeah, I mean, check me out, my website, chrisearley.com. I generally want to hear from everyone listening to this, so reach out to me. I love geeking out about that stuff. I think it comes across that I have energy with this stuff. I'm passionate, so reach out to me. I'd love to talk with you about your firm and how we could potentially work together. If you're challenged by something, I'm not the sharpest tool in the shed, but I'll share some stuff that's worked for me that hasn't worked for me, something that'll help you out. Love to get you my newsletter list, so reach out. I'm always, pushing out content as we talked about, try to help you move the needle in your practice. So one thing I quickly want to say is what really helped me, Jay, is giving more. I used to be kind of a taker, like, oh, like how can I, take. I read a really good book, The Go Giver. We just talked about books, The Go
Awesome,
Givers. So, like the more I gave, the more I realized this is wonderful. It feels good, but I actually get like 10x in return. And I don't encourage the listener to give in order to get back. But when you start, like I get up on stage, Jay, talk to lawyers about how I get cases. I just had a lawyer in Boston reach out, hey, can we get coffee? I want to see how I can get more cases. I'm gonna have coffee with her, and I'm gonna share how I get cases because I'm gonna be really upfront about this. Like it's really hard work, and like if that person outworks me, all the power to you, right? But I'm just gonna worry about what Chris Earley's doing and do my thing, do my work. But when I started sharing and being, abundantly abundance thinker, things really change. So if you're really tight, play tight to the vest and you're kind of hold your ideas to yourself. Well, that's cool and all, but I feel like your growth will be capped as opposed to sharing, right? You and I are sharers, right? We go to these conferences, we get up on stage, we talk about things, we go on podcasts, we talk about things. What happens? Opportunities come our way, right? Things that we wouldn't otherwise have access to if we weren't giving of what we've have to share. So I encourage the audience to give. I think it's really important.
Well, I asked Chris one of his secret sauce, and he said it was authenticity, the authentic lawyer, and I think he's really proved that here today, and that's been a theme that's come throughout a lot of this discussion. The other theme that I would call out is, you really talked a lot about things taking a little bit of time, but paying off. So participating in the community pays off, giving authentically pays off. Doing the podcast and publishing content on a regular twice a week basis really starts to pay off. And that's one thing that I've learned in spades. Our company celebrated our 20th anniversary, but for the last 5 years, we decided to be only focused on working with attorneys. And so it was a little frustrating. The first few years we were like solely focused, but now after 4 or 5 years of getting on stages, doing the podcast every week, doing a webinar every month, now it's really starting to pay off. And far too many people quit after 6 months, whether it's their BNI chapter or their mastermind or their whatever the latest greatest management strategy is. But please stick with it. Chris is showing you the benefit, and I'll vouch for it that just give it a couple years and stick with it. It works.
I love that. I think that's the most important thing that either of us said today was what you just said, persistence, right? I can't tell you, Jay, how many times I go home and I'm like, say to my wife, I'm just ready to burn this thing down. I'm not where I need to be. She said, chill, man, keep plugging away. And then what happens, Jay? You get some good news, you get some good feedback. It's something that you haven't heard anything about, and suddenly it's getting traction. You have to take your punches in the face and keep going. You cannot give up, because most do, Jay, right? We see it in this industry. And in the digital industry, I'm sure you see, in the legal profession, and we both see it. I know it's not cheese, but you got to keep going, man. Like I am a king of failure, I'm telling you, but I'm too dumb to quit. And I'm like, all right, well, let's just double down on that. If something isn't working, I'm gonna, if some things don't work, you have to sort of like move away and pivot away. But if you're not convinced, I wrote about this in my attorney newsletter this week or 2 weeks ago. The key is knowing when to stick and when to pull back, right? But if you don't have any evidence to show that it's not working, I would keep going, right? The more you get punched in the face, the stronger you get, keep getting up. I'm telling you, man, that's been so helpful for me. And I'm gonna get punched in the face later today by something, but like I'll be back at it tomorrow, and it's not that hard to do, but I think you have to be a little bit tough. And that when you get punched in the face over and over, it gets you a little tougher. So it gets easier to absorb the blows. So you've taken blows, I've taken blows. Like you said, keep going. And that's where I think big things are possible for you.
I'll wrap this up with something I haven't posted yet, but I'm going to post it. I took a picture of the stadium when most of us watched Rafa Nadal, maybe his final French Open appearance. And right there on the stadium, like carved into the rim around the second deck, there was a quote from Roland Garros. And Roland Garros is the name of the tournament. Victory belongs to the most tenacious. And I think we've proved that in business, you've got to be tenacious. But, I thought that summed up Rafa Nadal. He was tenacious, and he would just every single point, every single shot, he was tenacious. And that's why he won 14 times. And that's why Chris is winning. And that's why I know you'll all win.
Appreciate it. Well,
thanks, buddy. Thanks for doing this.
Thank you, Jay. Appreciate you so much. Thank you very much.
Thank you for listening to the 10 Golden Rules of Internet Marketing for Law Firms podcast. Please send questions and comments to podcast@10goldenrules.com. That is podcast@TENgoldenrules.com.